Get ready, get set, go.
Conditioned by indoctrination, conditioned by society. You're a victim of the digital age, a 21st century casualty. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Conditioned by misinformation, it's just the media telling us lies. Decipher fiction from the truth, society's slow and tragic demise. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Everyone's got their fucking opinion.
All right, what's happening? It's the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, episode 429. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I hope it's going well. Yes, Spiky, this is going to be a good one. Good afternoon. How you doing, Francis? What's up, Spiky? What's going on in the UK, John? Gang's all here. Jose, what do you say? Good. Good. Get the word out there. Let's go. Let's get down. Yep. Max the Threat, what's happening? Yeah, you know what? Let me bring on my co-host. My co-hostess with the mostest. Our co-host today is a longtime journalist, author, and musician. As a drummer, he's played in dozens of bands, including The Undead, Pigface, Broken Heroes, and his current project, Rise, Reign, Revolt. He got his start in the music business as a promoter for the Misfits, and as an author, he's written several books, including one that's featured in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Library and Archives. Please welcome, joining us from the Live Free Die state of New Hampshire, my friend and yours, Mr. Joel Gustin.
Hey, what's up?
What's up?
How you doing?
Wow, your voice sounds great.
Well, I'm trying, man. It's a little better, hopefully.
Yeah, it's somewhat better.
Yeah, it's hanging in there, but I don't cancel in principle, and I would not cancel today because this is going to be a great show.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think a lot of people are, so it's good. I don't cancel either. It takes a lot for me to cancel.
Yeah.
The only time I've ever canceled the show is when some other schmucklehead in my band came up with some bullshit. I don't think I've ever personally canceled the show.
Yeah. Well,
and I'm up there screaming my friggin' brains out.
Right.
So
life's too short to postpone.
I come from a showbiz family, is what it is. Seriously.
And look, man, I've wanted to interview Greg since I was 12 years old. So I'm showing up.
I know, when I asked you about this, I was like, hey, you know this guy? And he's like, oh my God. I'm like, why don't you co-host it with me?
Yeah, I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Good. Speaking of honors, ladies and gentlemen, the Hardcore Shutterbug.
Hello. Happy Mother's Day.
Speaking of honored to be here.
I am honored to be here.
Yep. What's going on?
Not too much. Pretty psyched, actually. I was just telling Drew earlier that our show gets a little love now. I just got the new Dead Blow hammer.
Mm-hmm.
And was honored to get the back cover of the record and honored to see our banner made it to the...
Hold on, let me see.
There
you go. The Back to the New York Hardcore Roots music series. Nice.
And really, really good album. These guys, I love this.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. So
right on.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dead Blow Hammer.
Shout out to AG.
Shout out to AG. On another note, now for something completely different, my sister called me this morning and said, you have to see the Michael Jackson movie. No questions asked. Just go see it. 5 minutes later, another friend who's producing a new film that I'm directing that I can't mention yet, calls me up and goes, you got to see the Iron Maiden movie. No questions asked. And I'm like, Iron Maiden, Michael Jackson. I'm like,
I saw the Maiden movie last night.
Yeah. So.
Not even a choice.
Yeah, So good show on Sunday at the Bowery Electric. That was cool.
Yeah, that's a beautiful sign too. He really,
Yeah, he makes these for every show. It was a great. We are back down at the Bowery Palace,
yes,
formerly known as the Bowery Electric, one of Jesse Mallon's places, and of course, a lot of people came out, including Heggs and our old friend from the show, Rat Bones.
yep.
You know,
Yeah, it's not those two are. They're always kind of like bookends. These two.
yeah, yeah. So, and then some great bands played, including. Let me see what we got here. Oh, here. How about this? Sid the Kids band played, and they were pretty good.
They were good. I thought they really brought it that night. I was very happy for them. And that, I believe, isn't that the guitar player for American Eagle there with him?
No,
Who is that?
I forgot that. No.
Oh, he looks a little like that guy. My apologies to you. And he's got his United Blood shirt on. So
You want to hear a great Sid story from this show? So, so Sid's band plays, and like there were some people in the room. People were into it, and afterwards, just kind of being the nice guy promoter I am or whatever. Yo, Sid, you were great. You brought it. You know, the room was crowded. People were into it. 10 minutes later, Ray Hogan comes to me and goes, I overheard Sid saying to Larry, he filled the room. Everyone was there to see him play, and he wants to get paid. They're all here to see me.
they did bring a lot of people.
He hustled. So you know what I did?
What'd you do?
Take a guess of what I after hearing that. What I did?
You paid him.
I paid him.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? This motherfucker got balls, and he's going for his, and he hustled. Good for him. I didn't, paid him what I could.
What's the old saying? The squeakiest wheel gets the most grease or something?
Oh, these guys were great. American Eagle brought the old school. Sergeant Rock brought the old school. Yeah.
He's got the whistle on everything. See, that's the guy I thought it was in the picture, but that's not him. They're fun. He's a great guy too. He's a really good.
Yeah, and then Enziguri wrapped it up. They were great. Little Enziguri with Davey Hooligan from the Bronx.
Wide-eyed.
There's that banner.
Oh, it was great to see him.
There's Walter playing drums from Puzzle Panther, and
look at his shirt he's wearing. He's got our A7 shirt on.
Right. Sometime my war drummer. I think he's playing the park with us this summer. You see, last one before we move on. The pride of Staten Island. Talk about OGs.
Oh, geez.
Hey, any OGs out there? Enrage.
Yeah.
Whoa.
They were really good. And our friend Dom doing double duty that day on drums.
Yep.
He played with Concrete Burial and with Enrage.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a really, really fun show. The funny thing about seeing Enrage on that stage is that Jeff is such a big guy. Like he sings with his arms out and like he takes up the whole stage.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah, he really is. And it was great. Obviously, Terry and Eddie, everybody there just with the new palace and the nice big stage now too,
Yeah, RS, the answer is, did they change the inside of the back? They did change the inside of the Bowery a little bit. They got rid of the DJ booth, which made the stage, so the stage is bigger, and they got rid of one of the benches on the floor, so the dance floor is bigger, and they changed some of the decor. And they upgraded the sound system.
Yeah,
that's
they did.
Pretty cool.
It was really fun and just it's always great being there and the people there. Everybody's it was a fun one. It really was.
Stop teasing, Drew. What's the movie? I can't talk about it. I can't. It ain't Biohazard. But it's close. It's somewhat in that Biohazard universe. It is. It is somewhat in the Biohazard universe.
Tease them.
I can't turn around and tell the other people that are involved, don't talk about it with anybody, and then get on this show that's got a worldwide audience and fucking talk about it. You know? So, all right. Very cool. Oh, and the next thing that we're doing, talking about that banner, the next Back to the New York Hardcore Roots series show is a week from Saturday in our beloved Tompkins Square Park. With Mephistopheles, Incendiary Device, The Phoenix Within, and Starcar, featuring Sab Gray, formerly of Iron Cross. So this is a very cool show in Tompkins Square Park on Memorial Day weekend. And of course, we all know the weather's going to be fantastic. So there you go. And then the next one back in the Bowery is May 31st with Overthrow, Brass Knuckle Brigade, Destroy Myself Canceled, Fracture, and Tied by Fate. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right, Stephen.
Well, all right then.
All right then. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Have a good day. And wish your mom a happy Mother's Day from the New York Hardcore.
You guys do
from the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. Talk to you later. That's what's up. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, and we are sponsored by the Texas Silver Rush, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Generation Records, 126 Hardcore Clothing, Woo Man of the Pit, She Devil's Coven, Gamma Bass Guitars, and Minty Fresh Presents. They're a promotion company that put on hardcore metal shows at Locals Bar Manalapan, New Jersey. Founded by Big Polish, Chris Golis of Bulldoze, and Frankie DeAngelis of Silence Equals Death, the shows are all ages with plenty of pre-parking. Plenty of pre-parking. The kitchen's open all night and the bar till 2 a.m. If you're a band looking to play and you don't totally suck, or if you do suck but you're a fuckload of people, reach out to them at mintyfreshpresents@gmail.com. Ticket pre-sales for events are available at mintyfreshnj.com. Check them out on Instagram at mintyfreshnj and help spread the word to support DIY hardcore and metal in Central New Jersey. Minty Fresh Presents. Hey Joel, aren't you involved in some Jersey project coming up? Do you talk about that? Is that like out there?
Not yet.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I can talk about one thing.
Okay.
I am working on an oral history book on 80s New Jersey punk and hardcore.
Yeah.
That's going to be coming out with our friends from DeWolf Publishing.
Yeah.
That's in the works. There's some other Jersey things I can't talk about yet, but very exciting stuff in the works. And when the time's right, I'll come on the show and make the big reveal.
Okay. The big reveal.
Big reveal.
Okay. Let's bring our guest on. Today's guest is an American bassist songwriter hailing from the land of 10,000 Lakes, Minnesota. He's known for his work with the bands Gray Area, Porcupine, Gang Font featuring Interloper, and of course, Husker and currently Ultrabomb. Please welcome, coming at us from St. Paul, Minnesota, Mr. Greg Norton. Hey, man.
Hey.
Hey.
I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't? All right, so I'm going to kick you off and then come back on, all right? Let's try that. Let me kick him off. Good way to start.
Where's Earl Liberty? Get Earl Liberty on.
Jeez. He'll pop back on.
Hey, man, it's live. It's hardcore. It's Mother's Day.
Rock. Joel, do you still play drums?
Yep. I have a project in the works right now. I can't announce, but
okay,
there's a new band.
Now I can hear you.
Hey, hallelujah.
Whatever you were talking about, it looked really entertaining.
What's happening in Minnesota, Greg?
It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon this Mother's Day, and Ultrabomb's getting ready to hit the road in a couple of weeks. So super excited about that.
Is that the Look Forward in Anger tour?
Yes. These will be the first shows that we're starting out in California. for like a 9-day run, and
Is that it? That's it, right?
That's the one. Yep.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. So really excited to start playing this new record live for everybody.
Yeah, and the record's great. I see some of the usual suspects. Alex's Bar. Let me see. Wow. Long Beach, LA, San Francisco, Sacramento, Reno, Nevada, Petaluma, California. Ooh, nice one. Good. Excellent.
Yeah, wrapping up in Fresno, and then back home until we do a short run in at the end of June, and that'll include a hometown show here in St. Paul, Minnesota at the Turf Club on June 27th.
Right on. So let's chop it up a little bit. Let's bounce the ball back and forth. How did you come up? Did you grow up in a musical household? How did music come into your life?
Yeah, actually, there was a lot of music in my house when I was growing up. Everybody was just listening to music. My dad was really into big band music, and so I was listening to a lot of Stan Kenton, and he was really loved Tony Bennett. I'm the youngest of three. My sister was 9 years older than I was, so it's like in the 60s. She's listening to the Beatles and all the British invasion bands, and my brother then got into Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and stuff like that. So I was always exposed to a lot of music. When I was a 14-year-old juvenile delinquent, I was working downtown St. Paul at a movie theater, and right next door was a record shop called 3 Acre Wood, and I would just hang out there all the time. And the two main guys that worked there were really into a lot of jazz and avant-garde jazz, and so I really got turned on to a lot of cool stuff there, and even electronic music, and so just a lot of influences. And when I got out of high school in '77 and got a job at a record store, and all the punk records were coming out, I was just like, wow, punk rock, I love this shit.
Was that Cheapo Records?
Yeah, the first store owned by the same guy, it was called Melody Lane, and that's actually where I met Grant Hart, and we started working together, and then eventually both of us were working over at Cheapo, which was on the McAllister College campus here in St. Paul, actually not too far from where I am right now. And that's when we met Bob, when he showed up for his freshman year.
When in the early sort of, you're talking about like, let's say 79, whatever it was there punk rock? Was there punk rock in Minnesota, in St. Paul, and in the Twin Cities?
Yeah, actually. So there was a bar called the Longhorn, downtown Minneapolis. That was, kind of our equivalent to someplace like a CBGB's.
Sure.
But the Longhorn had been, Minneapolis has a good punk tradition. There was the Suicide Commandos. They got together in 1975. Their first record came out in the beginning of '78 on Blank Records. And but the Longhorn had a lot of really great, the Stranglers played there, the Buzzcocks, the Elvis Costello, the Police, the Blondie, Talking Heads, Para Ubu. I mean, it was, the Dead Boys. It was just, it was the place to play in Minneapolis when these bands were coming through. So, and it was at capacity, it was a 500 cap room, but usually for a lot of those shows, it was only half the room, so like a couple hundred people. Those are some.
Christopher Valdez says the Trashmen.
Oh, the Trashmen, yeah, there we go. That goes back to like the 60s. Surfing Bird and
right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. At what point did you pick? Better yet, what was the first music that like you felt like spoke to you? That, like, this is mine. This is my stuff.
Well, I was about 13 when I got my first bass, and actually at 13 I was listening to a lot of progressive rock. Uh, Chris Squire's bass tone in the band Yes was like something that really struck me. With punk rock though, it's really literally just hearing the Ramones for the first time, or hearing the Sex Pistols for the first time. But there were a lot of the Saints and Radio Birdman from Australia, and listening to the Stranglers and Talking Heads, Dead Boys. I mean, all that stuff really spoke to me, and the stuff coming out of Manchester, England, Buzzcocks, Joy Division, uh, Wire was a big influence. And then when we heard the Jealous Again EP from Black Flag, it was like, holy shit, what's this now?
Yeah.
And that kind of started us down the hardcore path. Plus we played a lot of shows with DOA, and this was right around the time that they released their Hardcore '81 album. So
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thinking about Minnesota, it's like pretty far from New York. It's pretty far from LA. It's pretty far from the UK. It sort of exists in its own world. Is that fair to say that it's not it's its own world?
Yeah, I would say so. From a touring standpoint, though, it was great for us because we could, just go out for a couple of weeks in any direction and get back. But Minneapolis and St. Paul, it's there was a record shop in Minneapolis called Orfolk Joke Opus, and that was where they had all the British import singles and fanzines, and that's where everybody hung out to find out what was going on. And like I said, the Longhorn was definitely a stop on all these national tours for these bands. So there was a lot going on here, and Minneapolis has always had a really thriving music scene.
Sure.
We always joke that there's so many good bands in Minnesota is because it's too damn cold in the wintertime to do anything else but sit in your basement and play a guitar. So
I went through a winter in St. Paul, and it was next level shit. It was it's as cold as I remember ever. And I lived near the Canadian border in Vermont for a couple of years. I think Minnesota's a whole nother cold. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, we get those polar vortexes that settle over us, and when the high temperature doesn't go above zero for a week straight. It's pretty insane.
Yeah. Hey, Joel, anything for Greg?
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about the earliest sound of the band, because as we'll get into further, the sound obviously evolved very quickly over time. I've always been particularly interested in the Statues 45, because, if I were to describe it to someone who hasn't heard it, I would say it falls within the realm of Public Image, let's say, to put a stamp on it. And then the next release was so vastly different. So tell me a little bit about the early days and how the sound changed so much. Was it an intentional shift or an organic response to just playing music as often as you were back then?
Yeah, it really was an organic shift and evolution. When we first started out, one of the very first songs we wrote was a song called Sex Dolls, which we named because we thought it sounded like a cross between the Sex Dolls and the New York Dolls, or the Sex Pistols and the New York Dolls. But we were definitely, like I said, we were really influenced by kind of that darker stuff coming out of Manchester. Joy Division being having a big influence. Bob was also listening to a lot of Throbbing Gristle. uh, when the public image comparison is fair. It's I think we were kind of trying to do kind of a PIL type of thing with the guitars and just the whole structure of the song. In 1981, when we took off on our very first national tour, that's really kind of when we ended up embracing hardcore, and we got the last show on that tour was the Minneapolis show at 7th Street Entry that got recorded for Land Speed Record. And a lot of our hometown fans were like, what the hell happened to you guys on the road? It's because we came back and we were just like faster than ever and just full on assault. I mean, we were still playing some of those earlier, slower, kind of darker numbers, but at that point, I think Bob in particular was like, "Oh yeah, I can do hardcore," but I think by the time we get done recording Metal Circus, I think Bob was like, "All right, I think I'm ready to push on into newer territory again."
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned touring in those earlier days. I do know one city in particular, very important to Husker Du's history, would have been Chicago, specifically a club called Oz.
Yep.
That seems to be the event where all the stars kind of aligned in many ways for Husker Du. Tell me a little bit about that particular event and how significant it ended up being for the band.
Yeah, Oz. I mean, that was our first out of town, show outside of playing in Minnesota, and we got booked for 2 nights, and we went down and we played, and the owner really dug the band, and he's like, "Hey, I'm putting on this Black Flag show at this other venue. Do you guys want to play the after party here at Oz?" So, of course, we're like, "Yeah, we want to stick around." So, we got to go see Black Flag. I think the Effigies and maybe Strike Under were the opening bands on that show, and got back to Oz and played the after party. And this is where there was like a little closet backstage area, and we got done with our set, and Grant sees this can of paint, and so he decides to chuck it out at the audience. But when the paint hit the floor, the lid popped open, and there's blue paint going everywhere. This young lady in the audience decides to go up and scoop up some blue paint with one of Grant's cymbals, and she was going to drizzle his drum kit with it. And Grant was like, "No, don't do that," which seems silly since he's the one that threw the paint to begin with. But he went out to kind of stop her, and they both slipped in the wet paint, and she landed, ass down in the paint. She was wearing these black leather pants, and I think it was Spot and maybe Robo. I think Robo was drumming on that tour. They just, picked her up and then, kind of bounced her against the wall and left the like this big blue butt print. And everybody thought it was funny, so they went around the room and kind of made a bunch of them. But that's how we, met Greg Ginn and Chuck Tukowski, and Greg put us in touch with Joe Carducci at SST, and really that kind of started us down that whole thing. It put us on their radar. We sent Carducci Land Speed Record, and he's like, "Yeah, that's not really something SST would want to put out for a first record for a band," but he's like, "Hey, Mike Watt's got a label, maybe he'll put it out." And Mike Watt was like, "I don't even need to hear it, I'll just put it out." So that's how we ended up on New Alliance. And our first studio record that we recorded with Spot in California, Everything Falls Apart, we ended up putting that out ourselves because, again, Carducci didn't quite think we were ready for SST. And Metal Circus ends up being our first record for them. That recording session got cut short due to time. So that's why it ended up being an EP and not a full album.
Can I ask? I think just circle back a little bit. We sort of skipped over it. How did the band come together initially? Were you guys called like Buddy and the Returnables initially? Like just for history's sake, how did Husker Du come together initially? How did the key players come together on that?
Yeah, so Grant and I had been friends for a while. We were working together at Cheapo Records, and the guy who was the manager at the shop at the time, his name was Charlie Pine. He was, a little bit older than us. He had just graduated from McAllister. Grant and Bob met one day when Grant's blasting the Ramones out on the street from work, and Bob's like, "Hey, I like the Ramones." So they became friends. I didn't really know Bob yet. Charlie, Grant, myself, and a couple other co-workers, we were at this little dive bar here in St. Paul, and Charlie came back with a pitcher of beer, and he looks at Grant and he goes, "Hey, Grant, we need to put a band together. I just booked us a gig here." And Grant's like, "Well, what are you talking about?" And he goes, "Well, I saw that they had music, and so I asked the bartender, and she said, 'Why, you got a band?' And he goes, 'Yeah.' And she's like, 'Well, what do you call it?' And he goes, 'We're Buddy and the Returnables.' And she's like, 'Okay, great. You guys can play here on March 30th and 31st. So that gave us 2 months basically
Nice.
to put a band, first off, put a band together, and then learn. They wanted us to play 3 sets a night, so we had to learn a lot of cover songs. So when Charlie says that to Grant, Grant's like, "Well, I do know this. I did meet this kid that goes to McAllister. He's got a Flying V guitar and a black leather jacket." And the next day, Grant and I picked Bob up and brought him over to my house, which is where Grant's drum kit was. And the three of us just jammed on a bunch of Ramones songs, and then started getting together with Charlie to write the set. But we were like, "Yeah, we don't want to be Buddy and the Returnables, because that means you're Buddy and we're just the Returnables." So that's
I
Charlie
suggested
the name Husker Du, and we stuck with it. So.
And Charlie was playing keyboards.
Yep, he was playing keyboards, lead singer. Kind of a big ham. And the sets that we did at Ron's Randolph Inn, we were playing Eddie Cochran and Gene Vincent and Lou Reed and Ramones, Elvis Costello,
all right,
Nick Lowe, Para Ubu, the Buzzcocks. It's like, the stuff was all over the place.
Yeah. And Charlie ended up, I know his tenure in Husker Du wasn't very long, but he kind of went on to a career. He managed the Jayhawks, right?
Yes, he did. Yep.
Yeah. So he ended up working in the music business and continuing on. Have you, I assume you've crossed paths with him every now and then?
Yeah, I haven't seen him in quite some time now, but yeah, we would cross paths occasionally. There was no hard feelings, despite the fact that basically so we played the 2 sets, or two nights at Ron's Randolph Inn, and a few weeks later Charlie's like, "Hey, I've got us another gig." But Bob, Grant, and myself had already started, without telling him, the 3 of us started playing together and writing our own music. So this was a gig he got us at McAllister College for their spring break on, which is it's always on 4/20. And we got done playing our set, and they're like, "Oh, you guys still have time if you want to play anything else." So Bob, Grant, and I got up there and started playing the stuff that we had just written. And Charlie's like, "What is this? I don't know this song. What are you guys playing?" And then another friend of ours reached up and unplugged the Farfisa organ, and that was it. And so that's the legend of Charlie Pine being fired on stage by Husker Du. So,
and there you go. Got to ask about the Husker Du, such an incredibly proficient songwriting band. What was the the songwriting process in this band from early on? Double albums, so much material, like incredible. How did that look? How did that work?
So at this point, I was actually working at a different record store called Northern Lights, and John Carnahan, the owner, said, "Well, if you guys need a place to rehearse, if you clean out the basement, you can rehearse down there." So we were literally playing every night. The store would close at 9 o'clock. We would be downstairs and we'd play until, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. And we were just young and enthusiastic, and everybody was like throwing out ideas out there, and we're trying different stuff. It was my first band. It was Bob's first band. Grant was kind of the seasoned, rock and roller at this point, but we were just constantly throwing out stuff and writing, coming up with new ideas and trying new things. And as Bob became a better songwriter, it's like he just turned into this super proficient songwriting machine. I would venture that of all of the songs that Bob has written that were just kind of like forgotten about and never played again would probably make somebody else's career. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Fair. Yep. And, and then, we kept, we were constantly working on stuff. It's like we would try, the song Out on a Limb, we actually wrote during a sound check at a show at, Kaufman Union on the whole coffee house in the basement, Kaufman Union at the University of Minnesota. And we're like, wow, that turned out really good. Let's play it tonight. We put it in the set, we were constantly doing that. And, another great thing about Husker, we were, those first 3 studio albums were all recorded in California with Spot. So we were touring on the way to record. So we were playing all the stuff that we're about to record, and people were like, wait a second, I just bought their record and they didn't play hardly anything off the record, and they played all this stuff I've never heard before. And I think a lot of our fans really grew to love that, that element of surprise. I mean, what are we going to hear? So that was always a lot of fun too.
It's a great fearless way to do it, and as a musician, a lot of fun. If you have willing cohorts that are down with that program, that's an exciting way to do things. It's you work it up, you play it, you road test it, and you keep it moving.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
Yeah. Just bouncing around a little bit. Pat Baldwin asked, what was it like working with Spot?
Spot was great. He was super nice guy and a wicked sense of humor. Talented musician as well. Spot sometimes I think gets a bad rap for how a lot of those SST recordings sounded, but I think for us it was the right fit. Also it was Bob and Grant learning from Spot how to produce and engineer a record. So yeah, I miss Spot. He was a good dude.
Nice. I have to mention, because somebody, let me just tie all this. Let me tie all this in a second. Where's this? Oh, here we go. So how did the band wind up singing on DYS Wolfpack? So that's not the question. So I was in Boston in the early 80s, kind of part of that SSD Control Boston crew. I ran with that And I remember seeing you guys play. I think it was the first time you played Boston at like Mavericks or I
Yep,
think
Mavericks. That was our first gig there. Yep.
we were there, man. I saw that. That was cool. And very early on, I think that was 82, maybe 81, 82.
I think it was maybe April of 83.
Okay.
Yeah. And actually that Maverick show kind of blew us away because the show was sold out.
Yeah.
And we were like, we've never played Boston before. How did everybody how do these people even know who we are?
Yeah.
And then somebody's like, oh, it's called college radio, dumbass. Okay. I'm like, cool.
Yeah, I went to Emerson College. So, yeah, they had that college. And so I'm assuming that's how you ended up on the DYS record. Was that trip?
It might have been. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember you played the Channel, too, after that.
Mm-hmm. Played the Channel a few times, played the Rat a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's one from who's replacements for the Young and the Useless at Gildersleeves.
Yeah, great Gildersleeves.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah.
The replacements ended up getting paid nothing for that gig.
Wow.
The club was like, yeah, we don't have any money for the band that you brought with.
Ouch.
Yeah. And of course, the Young and the Useless, a couple of them ended up being in the Beastie Boys, right?
That's right. Adam Adrock was in the Young and the Useless.
Okay.
Yeah, and they used to play. They used to play around a lot. A7 and along. But we talked about the early touring, and you mentioned DOA. Talked about Minnesota, but those early days when you guys would go out, like 81, 82, there really was no roadmap per se. It was bands. It was
the Wild West.
Yeah, it was DOA, Black Flag, even the Misfits to a certain extent that sort of created that roadmap. But what was it like going out in those early days? Who were your peers, and how did it get done?
So leading up to that first tour, it's like DOA came through and played in Minneapolis, and we opened for them. The Subhumans, the Vancouver band Subhumans, we played with them. Got to be friends with their managers. They gave us like a list of phone numbers. Really that first tour, the first couple of weeks we were in Canada, and then made our way down to Seattle because, through another contact, it's like, hey, get a hold of these people. They can get some shows set up for you. While we were in Seattle, that's when we, ended up talking our way onto a Dead Kennedys bill. It was Dead Kennedys, DOA, Duff McKagan's first band called the Farts. Yeah. And we opened that show. Wow. But that's how we met Jello Biafra. And he's like, well, what are you guys doing from here? I'm like, well, we're trying to get gigs in San Francisco. And he's like, well, come on down, stay at my place. I'll find you guys some shows. So, he gets us on at Mabue Gardens, and Dirksen really liked us. So he put us on a few more shows, and, we ended up doing a outdoor concert over in Berkeley with Flipper, and and again, still on the phone. This is like the first time I get introduced to Mike Watt. Is somebody gave me Watt's phone number, and they're like, well, call this kid up in LA and he can maybe get you some shows. And that's how it was. You would just get a phone number, and you would call somebody up and go like, hey, I hear you can put on a show or find us a place to play, and then you would show up and just hope that there was a show, and that people would show up, and actually everybody would show up, because that's the only way you found out about stuff, youth. Yep.
Joel?
Well, I mean, to that point, it amazes me how extensive things were back then, being so DIY. I'm currently working on a book on 80s New Jersey punk and hardcore. And I was speaking with someone the other day who said in 1982, he went to the small suburban neighborhood and that local record store, walked in and saw a stack of the In a Free Land single on the counter in suburban, quiet New Jersey.
That's
So,
crazy.
you know, it's amazing how far bands of this generation were able to do things without the internet, without,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
it's just phenomenal how vastly things spread during that time.
Yeah. If you were into it back then, you were into it. I mean, I think that goes for kids, people today. It's just
Yeah.
people were passionate. Like I said, we were in Boston. We'd go to the original Newbury Comics when it was in a brownstone on Newbury Street. It was just a storefront in a friggin' brownstone. That's where we hung out all day.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. If something would come in and it would even faintly smell like hardcore, you know, it was like we bought it. And when this came out, I mean, this was a ripper, man. This was a ripper. I have it in my notes, and I just sort of want to formally put it out there. Like, was Husker Du a hardcore band?
Husker Du, you know, when we started in '79, I think we were just considered ourselves just a punk band.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time, you know, 81 rolls around, we were, you know, we were already trying to play as fast as we could. We just didn't realize that there was a, you know, a name for what we were trying to do. And then it was like, oh, okay, you guys are hardcore. So, you know, like I said, we embraced that, and we definitely went through a, you know, a hardcore phase. But you know, I think Grant was never 100% into the hardcore thing as much as Bob was. His song "What Do I Want,"
Mm-hmm.
you know, was kind of his, you know, him singing about hardcore. It's like, what do I want? I don't know, nothing. You know, what'll make me happy? Nothing. You know, I think both of those guys, as they evolved as songwriters, you know, they moved on past hardcore, and but you know, still, you know, definitely on Zen Arcade, there are a lot of, you know, in my opinion, hardcore tunes on that. But by the time, you know, we get around to New Day Rising, not as much.
Yeah.
You know, Flip Your Wig, almost, you know, nothing on that, I would say, is like really hardcore. But you know, it was also one of those things where we also didn't want to get stuck in any one thing. You know.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. You know, I've often mentioned on the show that like hardcore for a lot of us back then, we're about the same age. It was like a portal, and a lot of people came through that portal. You mentioned Duff McKagan, who kind of went through that portal with the farts, and a lot of people and still to this day, a lot of people go through the portal, the Stargate of hardcore on their way to doing other things, not just in music, but in the arts. And now that it's just a part of the worldwide lexicon, you see kind of hardcore stuff turning up in the darnest of places. It's really
right. Yeah,
really, you know, really interesting.
and of course, you know, what the internet is for people to argue over. You
That's
know,
right.
what really is that?
That's right.
That's not hardcore.
No, that's not punk.
Yeah,
Like real punks. Can we talk about this beloved record a little bit?
Sure.
Can you walk us a little bit? Now I know this was I think the second release on SST.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. What Metal Circus I think was the first, right? And
Correct.
so you're on SST. Really a double album, which was incredibly sort of ambitious at that point. And any memories? Could you just give us some perspective all these years later on Zen Arcade?
Yeah, you know, as we were writing all the music for this, you know, we kind of noticed, like, if we put the songs together in a certain way, that it did form this story arc, and so we're like, God damn it, we're going to write a punk rock opera. So Zen Arcade was meant to be a double album. The way it's laid out, the songs tell a story from beginning to end. And SST wasn't real keen on us doing a double album, but we got into the studio with Spot. We got it recorded in an amazing short period of time. And then when Joe Carducci at the label heard the record, he's like, yeah, you're right, it's a double album. And the funny thing is, the Minutemen had a record ready to go. It was a single album. It was going to be called Nothing to Hide. Mike Watt told me that we spared the world from seeing the Minutemen naked on the front cover of that record. Because when they heard that we were turning in a double, they were like, well, God damn it, we can't let Husker just do a double. We got to do a double too. So they scrambled and recorded another LP to make up Double Nickels. And that's why it says "Take That, Huskers" on the inside of the gatefold.
Wow. I mean, yeah, this is a beloved record. Joel, anything regarding Zen Arcade?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Zen Arcade is an album that absolutely shaped me as a music fan and as a listener of music. Had a substantial effect on my life. And I mean, the first time I heard Charter Trips, I mean, but my question is, and you mentioned it earlier about intentionally making it a narrative. Hindsight is always 20/20. Sometimes it takes a decade or 4 to understand the impact of something. When you were creating this album, did you all have a sense that at the very least it was different and, speaking to listeners perhaps a much different way than some of the music that was coming out at that time?
Well, we definitely knew it was going to be different from, moving past Metal Circus, but also different from, what a lot of the hardcore that was coming out, injecting more melody into it, more of us telling stories instead of, just screaming about politics or something. We certainly didn't expect it to have as much. I mean, I'm flattered that it had the impact that it had for so many people. And every time that somebody tells me that this record changed their lives, it just really means a lot to me. We certainly didn't think we were making history, though. We were just making a record and getting ready to make the next one.
Well, when my stepson turned 13, I gave him a copy of the record. And I said, you may not get this right now, but you will. And,
nice.
Keep it close to you. It's going to be your friend when you need it. And I wholeheartedly believe that. One of the true albums that made me love music and choose my life's work doing it. So my hat's off to you.
I will still, on occasion, listen through from beginning to end, and the record holds up.
Yeah. Good stuff. Just kind of going along the timeline as we kind of work through the Husker Du, so we can make our way to Ultrabomb. SST, you guys were on SST sort of an abnormally long time as far as SSD artists go. I think you did like 5 or 6 or 7 releases before you made your way to Warner Brothers. Something must have been working over there with you guys and them, right?
Yeah, we like Joe Carducci quite a bit. He ran the label. We didn't really see the guys from Black Flag a whole lot because they were touring a lot, but the Minutemen became really, really close friends. It's like those guys were like brothers to us. The Meat Puppets were great friends. It was like, they were our crazy cousins from the desert, and those three bands played a lot of shows together. Husker, Minutemen, Meat Puppets, Saccharine Trust. There were so many. Every band on SST sounded different. Nobody sounded exactly like somebody else, and I think that was something that we really appreciated. There were some distribution problems when Zen Arcade came out, mainly because SST released 2 double albums on the same day, which was like a big cash outlay for them to get those pressed. And then when the records took off and sold really well, they didn't, they hadn't gotten paid for the records that they had sold, so they didn't have any money to repress yet. So, Zen Arcade did get the major labels looking at us, and and we'd get letters or phone calls, or somebody would show up at a show, and at that point we didn't see the benefit of jumping to a major, because what we were doing ourselves and what SST was helping us do, all of our, we felt that everything was kind of working out all right. Ultimately deciding to sign with Warner Brothers through Karen Berg. She just convinced us that Warner's was the most artist-friendly label out there, and we felt that was true, and they certainly let us operate exactly how we had been doing it. They didn't have any problem with Bob and Grant producing the records or us recording in Minneapolis, and they just wanted us to keep doing what we were already doing.
That's unique. Wasn't Flip Your Wig almost released by Warner Brothers?
Karen Berg really, 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 really wanted that record as the first Warner's album. I still, to this day, I'm not sure why we decided to, as a sort of like a parting thank you gift to SST, to give them one more record. But it'd be interesting had that been the first Warner's album, as opposed to Candy Apple Gray, which I think when Warner's got the final mixes on Candy Apple Gray after listening to Flip Your Wig, I think they kind of scratched their head a little bit and went, "What?"
Yeah. Joe, we were talking about Candy Apple Gray when we were kind of doing our tech check the other day, and you mentioned that like Husker Du was really like one of the, if not the first band from that first wave to end up on a major label, right?
Right. It was really Husker and X, really. So obviously it was changing times. This is 86. In a year or so, you're going to start seeing REM hitting radio, hitting MTV. Things were starting to change. When you guys made the lead to Warner's, did you encounter any of that stereotypical sort of backlash from the scene? Like, why are these guys doing this? Or was it really seen as a natural progression that you guys were, really primed to take things a bit further than what they were?
There was, a small percentage of our fans that were like, "Oh, sellouts! You guys signed to a major label. You're a bunch of sellouts now." And but ultimately, I think for a lot of the fans were happy and we're along for the ride. And if we're on a major label now, it's like they were okay with that. It's the Ramones were on a major label, the Clash were on a major label, the Sex Pistols were on a major label. It's
Sure.
But I think some fans that discover you when you're young and you're just coming up, and you're DIY independent label, they want to keep you in that box.
Sure.
Because that's their special place. And
Yep.
All of a sudden you're on a major label and they have to share you with more people now, it's inevitable. No matter what you do, some fans are going to be pissed off if you don't faithfully recreate your last record, because that's the one that they love. They want to keep hearing that same thing over and over and over again. Whereas as an artist, we are trying to evolve and push our, the sound forward and make music that we want to make.
Yeah. 100. Well said. 100%. It's a fine line with a lot of people. Warehouse was the last Husker album, like during your original run there. Any thoughts? Did you know things were winding down here, or?
Well, no, we didn't know things were winding down, but definitely there were growing tensions amongst us band members. Bob and Grant in particular with the songwriter battle. Who's going to have more songs on a record type of thing. It became difficult for me to bring material to the group because Bob and Grant wouldn't really take my stuff as serious as their own stuff that they were working on. Warner's did pick up our option for a third album that was going to be recorded in February of '88, and the band broke up a month before that. So I always thought, the way the band broke up, it was like, you're just a fly flying along on a country road, and all of a sudden the semi truck just comes through and just splat. That was it. Yeah, it sort of looks like the back cover.
Yeah.
those are the flies getting splattered on the windshield there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof. The in retrospect, and I'm not. This show's not about that. This show's not about like digging up shit or anything like that. But in retrospect, many years later, how do you feel about how it ended, or could things have been different, or?
Like I said, the way the band broke up kind of came out of nowhere, and so it was a bit of a shock. I had, Bob and I actually were trying to get Grant, do an intervention with him to help him get clean and get off junk, and he kind of kept slipping away from that, and that's when Bob decided that he wasn't going to allow a junkie to rule his life, so he left the contract. I had suggested to Bob that maybe we replace Grant, and obviously we wouldn't be the same band, but and Bob was like, no, it just doesn't seem right. I think actually Bob was probably thinking like it was time for him to do a solo career anyway. So
Yeah.
The way it ended was not fun, but I think the fact that we never did a reunion of any type, I think leaves the legacy intact. And really, you look at Bob's career post Husker with his first couple of solo records, and then Sugar and the Bob Mould Band, and he's had a very good career, long career. Grant, continued to put out records, not as often as Bob did, but his output was some still really great music. And I took a couple of decades off on a detour through the restaurant industry, and but found my way back to music, and I couldn't be happier. So I think there was a lot of really great music that was made post Husker with all three of us. So
right on. Hey, I couldn't help but notice in many of these shots of you guys back in the day. You guys, what do they take pictures of you guys on cigarette breaks?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, no,
I mean,
it's
every fucking picture I see of this band, everybody's smoking a cigarette.
yeah. Well, it's almost like okay. It's it's time for photos. All right, everybody, light up a cigarette. You know, I mean, all three of us smoked. Bob used to say that he smoked like a factory. So, Bob was probably smoking a couple of packs a day back then.
Oof.
Yeah, it's life on the road, cigarettes and cheap beer and
yeah. 100%. Before we take a sponsor break, Joel, just as we close out the Husker sort of era, any perspective, anything you want to add?
Well, as somebody who has really a deep fondness for Grant Hart as a songwriter, we should acknowledge, of course, we lost Grant a few years back.
Yeah.
So this is my opportunity to ask you, what do you think Grant's greatest legacy or contribution to music is? What do you think he brought to Husker, as well as his own work, that remains uniquely him?
Grant had such a beautiful, that cat could sing. He was really great. He was very funny, and really, one of those people with like an encyclopedic type mind that could just rattle off all sorts of really obscure and interesting facts. But I think Grant and even Bob. And this speaks to the evolution of the Husker sound. It's like I think secretly they both wanted to be a power pop band. And I think Grant kind of helped. His stuff was. You hear the people talk about the Lennon McCartney dynamic between Mold and Hart. Grant being the Paul McCartney and Bob being the John Lennon as far as like songwriting styles go. Grant was super kind to people unless you were like really close to him, because if you're really close to him, then basically you could, you would be the one that he would feel comfortable, being, showing some scorn or being mean to. At his memorial, a good friend of mine said, "Yeah, Grant was a bastard, but he was our bastard." And it's true. It's he was a good friend, and was always super kind to strangers. Post Husker stuff, I thought a lot of the stuff he did with Nova Mob was really good. Some of the solo stuff that Grant definitely kept evolving as an artist. Like you couldn't pin him down to one particular genre or style or and I think I think Grant always kind of considered himself more as an artist and not just a musician. So
right on.
Yeah.
Let's take a sponsor break, and quick one. Greg, you got a couple minutes, and we'll come back and let's get into the present. Let's talk about Ultrabomb and what's going on. We'll see you in a couple minutes, Greg.
Right on. Thanks.
All right, sure. All right, halftime. All right, very good.
I'm gonna go grab some tea.
Go grab some tea. I'll do some sponsor stuff, okay? What's up, everybody? Yeah, hope you're enjoying it. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, episode 429. Our guest is Greg Norton, formerly of Husker Du, currently of Ultrabomb. This is what's going to happen. We're going to do some sponsor stuff. We're going to talk about upcoming shows. Then we're going to bring our co-host Joel back on, and we're going to bring Greg on, and we're going to talk about Ultrabomb, and then we're going to take another short sponsor break, and then we're going to take some questions from around the world. So we certainly appreciate you being here. We'll see you I'll be back in a minute.
Since 1992, Generation Records has been a mainstay of the New York metropolitan area music scene. Today, they offer a diverse selection of new and used rock, jazz, indie, hip-hop, punk, hardcore, metal, blues, soundtrack, and reggae LPs, as well as t-shirts, posters, and other merchandise. They buy used record collections and music memorabilia and will pay you top dollar for them. House calls made for large collections in the tri-state area. Call or email generationrecords@gmail.com and follow them on Facebook and Instagram.
Will that be cash or in debt?
Do you mean debit?
Yes. Sorry. Another eternally satisfied customer.
Yo, what's happening? I'm out here at one of our all-ages Sunday matinees on the Bowery. I hope that you are enjoying today's show. I just want to let you know that the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live needs your support. Please step up. There is a Patreon page that has a lot of unique program. Shows are announced there first. Lots of good stuff. There's a PayPal address right there on the screen if you want to make a contribution. There's also a super chat function. You could do that, but the bottom line is this show exists because of your support. We're going to be doing it for a long, long time. Thank you for all your support through the years. Back to the show.
Conditioned by indoctrination, conditioned by society. You're a victim of the digital age, a 21st century casualty. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Conditioned by misinformation, it's just the media telling us lies. Decipher fiction from the truth, society's slow and tragic demise. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Everyone's got their...
Yo, that's what's up. Hey, just a couple upcoming shows. 1 week from today, we got the lead organizer and the senior organizer of Punk Island 2026 coming on. The big event's coming up Saturday, June 27th on Randall's Island here in New York City with about 150 bands. This is a great New York City event. And actually, ID is playing this year. We have a stage, the Back to the New York Hardcore Roots stage this year. So we'll talk about that. Yo, Wadi's coming on May 24th. Get your shoes and socks on. This should be interesting. Bring your interstellar translator with you. You're going to need it. Jesse Mallon has a new book, Almost Grown. He's on Wednesday, June 3rd. Kira, speaking of Black Flag, Kira is coming back on the show. She has a new album, Enigma, that is out. So she will be coming back to the show to talk about her new album. Photographer Jeff Ladd on my birthday, June 28th. Joey Vera from Armored Saint and Fates. A lot of bass players. What's going on? It's all bass players. Joey Vera from Armored Saint and Fates Warning, co-hosted by Laurie Dawn, July 15th. Bob Burt. Joe will be co-hosting that with me from Sonic Youth, Pussy Galore, Lydia Lunch, etc. Blag of the Dwarves. Here we go. Sunday, July 26th. So lots of stuff going on. Just want to remind you, please support the show. Best way to do it is on Patreon. There's a $2 tier, a $5 tier, a 96 tiers. Best way to support the show. There's also a super chat function. If you have a question for our guest and you want to, a couple bucks, it comes through in color. I can't miss it. Also, if you're watching the show in rerun, there is a subscribe. Please subscribe to the Stone Films NYC YouTube page and also pick up your communication device. I know it's evil, but pick it up and follow me and the show on Instagram. That's the Patreon QR code. Also, there is a PayPal address at stone4124@AOL. Please support the show. 6 years in, your support has made it happen. Let's keep going for another 6 years. Let's bring our co-host on. What's happening, Joel?
Not much. Hey, that new Kira record is amazing.
Is that right?
Oh, it's fantastic.
I got to listen to it. I just booked her like the other day.
Yeah.
But I'm a fan, and
Yeah.
she's awesome, and she was a great guest. Yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm glad she's coming back on.
Yeah, we get a lot of return customers at this point. So let's bring today's guest back on, formerly of Husker, currently of Ultrabomb, Greg Norton. Hey, man.
Hey.
Do you remember Kira from back in the day?
I do. I met her a few times. Didn't really know her that well, but yeah, I think that's awesome that she's got a new record out.
Yeah, she works in the film biz. She does sound design.
Cool.
She worked on Mad Max Fury Road and stuff like that. She's fan. And her brother is Paul, right? That was in the Screamers.
Okay.
Yeah, and all that. He produced the record, right, Joel?
I think so.
Yeah, he did.
He definitely did the previous one.
Yeah.
So I'm not hearing Joel's audio.
Joel, you want to sign off and come back on? Sure, why not?
Okay.
We'll see if it's not Joel, then you might have to pop off. It happens sometimes.
Okay. I can hear you just fine. So
yeah, it happens. It's an insidious internet world that we live in. So you mentioned sort of Husker ends, and you were in gray area after that with Colin Mansfield, right? Who was from the Husker Du camp, right? And JoJo Jones.
Yep. Yeah, that was the band right after Husker broke up, and we were only together for maybe a year and a half, and Colin decided to stop being a guitar player.
Oof.
And so Joe and I were like, well, it was kind of hard to be a power trio with no guitar player. So
yeah,
ended up drifting into the restaurant world. Went like 14 years without playing a bass at all, and Dave King from the Bad Plus, I meet him and he pitches me the idea for this band called Gang Font, and I decide to go out and actually start playing bass again. So
can you, Joel, say something?
Test. Hello.
Can you hear him?
I can't hear Joel.
Okay, I think, is it possible, Greg, can I kick you off and you come back on?
Sure.
Yeah, here you go. See you in a minute.
Yeah, we don't need Greg. We just need me and my awful voice.
Yeah. Yeah, but we're moving along. It's cool. And I want to ask him about the restaurant business. And, yeah. And then we'll make our way to Ultrabomb. So
definitely.
Yeah, of course. Oh, and where's his cards? All right, that should be it.
Testing. Hello.
I can hear everybody.
Yay.
It took a while to figure out how this whole thing works. But Greg, you mentioned the restaurant business, and is it safe to say you were basically in the restaurant business for about 15 years?
I was a chef and for about 15 years. All in all, I spent about 20 years in working in kitchens. It was a crazy fun time at restaurants and music actually have a lot of similarities as the cast of characters, the hours, the the mental health and substance abuse issues and also then that feedback that you get from your audience or your customers. So
it's interesting.
Yeah.
Did you open Norton's? That was your place, right?
Yep. I came up with a really clever name. I called it the Norton's Restaurant. That was about. So out of the 15-year chef career, I spent the first half, 7.5 years running a place for somebody else. in Red Wing, Minnesota, and then left there to open up my own place, and ran my own place for another 7.5 years.
Oof, I can imagine. It's like running your own restaurant. God, so that sounds like as stressful as like when I used to produce music videos through my production company. It sounds about as stressful as that. Oof. Yeah.
Yeah, razor thin margins. People will walk in and see a busy restaurant and just assume that you're making money hand over fist. But the reality is like, you're just hoping that you can pay yourself that month.
Yeah. That makes sense. And so on the tail end of that, you returned to the music biz with Gang Font featuring Interloper. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting name. Tell us about the band.
Some of big heavy hitters in the world of avant-garde jazz. Craig Taborn on keyboards. Craig lives, is from Minnesota, lives in Brooklyn. World renowned. Dave King from the Bad Plus, again, another Minnesotan, and the Bad Plus, they're one of the top jazz outfits for the last couple of decades. And Eric Frotsky on guitar. Eric was in another band with Dave called Happy Apple, and it's like this crazy, proggy, mathy, metal, avant jazz punk thing, and they're like, yeah, you can just play whatever you want on top of whatever you hear. And so it was really freeing to operate in that, and it was a lot of fun. We recorded a couple of records. Actually, we played New York a couple of times. Played the Knitting Factory on a Sunday afternoon. Ended up getting paid $37, and that was with a quarter page and timeout. So anyway, yeah, Gang Font is, and technically we've never broken up. We managed to play about 1 gig a year, but we haven't played together in about 5 or 6. But we keep talking about it.
Good to know it's there. It's back. Yeah. Good to know it's back there in a pinch. And then you kind of entered the fold with Porcupine, replacing Davey Raiders. Reinders.
Yeah. Reinders, Davey Reinders, everything. Right. And Davey was the original bass player in that band, and actually he and Casey, the guitar player, had a band before that called Space Bike. So Davey had been Casey's bass player forever. He needed to bow out due to scheduling conflicts between family life and his job. So Casey called me out of the blue, and I'm like, sure, I would love to do that. Kind of quirky, independent, alternative type rock. Definitely really appreciated Casey's songwriting style, and really liked his voice, and got to play with this incredible drummer Ian Prince. Playing with Ian was an absolute treat. But I think Casey was somebody that when it came to live performances, kind of wanted it to sound like the record, and I've never been that type of a live performer where you're going to get me to faithfully reproduce exactly what happened in the studio, because it's live and I'm going to be jumping around and having a lot of fun.
Sure.
So that it just didn't work out with Casey. So ended up not in a band, and that's when Finney McConnell actually sent me a DM and said, hey, give me a call, I've got an idea for a band. So I called him up, and he's like, hey, do you want to start a band with Jamie Oliver, the greatest punk rock drummer on the planet? And I'm like, Jamie Oliver, the chef? He's like, no, the other Jamie Oliver, plays with the UK Subs. And the original concept that Finney was thinking is like, oh, well, let's just play, Husker covers and Mahone's covers and maybe some UK Subs and a few other punk rock, classics. And we'll just play festivals for laughs. And I'm like, that sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, let's do that. And so this is July of 2021. September of 2021, Finney's like, oh, I'm going to be in Berlin. I've decided to book 4 days in a studio. I think I might write some demos for maybe some original Ultrabomb music. And he's like, oh, yeah, and Jamie's going to be here at that same time. So I decided to fly to Berlin for 2 reasons. One, well, actually 3 reasons. One, I'd never been to Berlin, always wanted to go.
Oh, wow. Never, Husker never played there? Never went
Husker
to Berlin?
never played Berlin, yeah.
Wow.
Nova Mob ended up playing Berlin. Bob, ended up living in Berlin for about 5 years. But I had never been there, so I also wanted to meet these guys because I never had met them in person. And really the main thing was to see if this whole concept of Ultrabomb was actually going to be a thing.
Interesting.
Am I going to like these guys? Are we going to are we going to be able to play together? And we ended up writing that first record, Time to Burn. We wrote all the songs in the first 2 days. And we were like, wow, it feels like I've been playing with these guys forever, nice autographed copy of the Ultrabomb album there.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this really is a thing. We just recorded a
so
punk rock classic.
Just so I understand, you flew there. You never met these guys in person. You flew to Berlin. You walked into a recording studio, shook their hands for the first time, put your bass on, and just wrote songs and recorded songs.
Exactly.
That's exciting.
Yeah. And, like I said, the 10 songs in 2 days.
Wow.
On the that third day, Finney and I were just kind of cleaning up some good guitar and bass overdubs, and I'm like, well, I've got a bunch of lyrics, and so I pulled out a file of like a folder full of lyrics, and Finney looks at him, he goes, I've got the whole record figured out, and then he went in and sang the whole record on the last day, and I was like, wow, I can't believe how well the lyrics that I have written, not to the music that we just wrote, fits so perfectly with the stuff that we just recorded.
That's great.
And of course, then we made the stupid decision to try to put it out ourselves. And we're not a record label. We don't do this for a living, and it was not as easy as we thought it would be. And there were a lot of delays and a lot of stumbles, and also there were trying to get out on the road, trying to play out, and having various things, canceled tours, COVID restrictions still being up.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's how Ultrabomb was born. Basically, just showing up in a studio and going pleased to meet you. Let's actually the engineer was I kept saying stuff like, I can't believe that you guys just wrote that song. And I'm like, yeah, not only did we just write that song, but I just met these guys this morning. And he goes, I can't believe that you just met these guys this morning. It sounds like you've been playing together forever. So that's
incredible. That's I don't think we've ever heard that one on this show. It's really unique. Very, very proficient. But then again, like we talked about, you come from a past in a band that was incredibly proficient. So it's my band would take a fucking year to come up with 10 songs, squabbling all along the way. But yeah. So I know that you mentioned COVID, other things, and I know you had a big health scare. Was that right in the middle of the first record, or was that the second one, Dying to Smile?
That was actually so the summer of 2022. I got diagnosed with prostate cancer, and Ultrabomb played one show in Minneapolis, and 5 days later, I was at the Mayo Clinic, and they took my prostate out.
Wow.
And they were like, looks like everything was contained to the prostate. All your margins are clean, and actually, I've been feeling great ever since then. As far as I know, everything is fine.
Good. Glad to
Yeah.
glad to hear that. Was the lineup on Dying to Smile the same?
Yes. So after having my prostate out, pretty much taken like the fall and winter off to recoup, we did do one U.S. tour in May of 2023 with Jamie Finney and myself. And we had the Barstool Preachers were our direct support act. They're from England. In December of 2023, they were doing their own headline tour in the UK and asked us to come over and be their direct support. So we did. And since we were, it's like, well, let's record another record. So we booked time at Perryvale Studios in London with Pat Collier. Pat was the bass player in the Vibrators. Way back in the day, and definitely a very recognized and renowned producer and engineer in the recording world as well. And same deal, walked into the studio, we wrote 12 songs in 2 days,
Good Lord.
and then put the lyrics on top of it. Not necessarily the way I wanted to keep operating. I think we got lucky the second time that Dying to Smile turned out as good as it did. But yeah, that's the last record with Finney and Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
And April of 2024, we did that tour with Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, and about a month or so after that tour, we made a decision to replace Jamie with Derek O'Brien. Jamie had issues with being able to get a P2 work visa for the US and couldn't get into Canada at all. And he is actively working on correcting that and expunging something from his record in the UK, but it takes a couple of years. And we were like, we can't wait 2 years to tour. So we replaced him with Derek O'Brien, who we had met at Punk Rock Bowling in 2023. Derek was the drummer with Social Distortion when they recorded Mommy's Little Monster.
Mm-hmm.
Played with Adolescents, played with Agent Orange, played with DI. Basically was one of the guys that started punk rock karaoke. And he went to got a degree in sound engineering and has a studio called Loud Bomb Studio in Hacienda Heights, California, just outside of Long Beach. And so that's how Derek entered the picture. At the end of 2024, working on a Midwest run and working on dates for 2025, Finney and I ended up having like an argument and a falling out over what the band needed to do to get better known. The big catch-22 these days with promoters and clubs is like, they need this. Let's look at the metadata. How many tickets do they sell?
Yep.
And we didn't have any metadata because we hadn't really done that many tours. And so it's like, all right, well, we need to go out and be support for somebody that's going to fill a room so people, get to know who we are. Finney didn't necessarily like who the agency wanted to send us out with. and so he quit. And I was lucky enough that Ryan Smith from Soul Asylum, who I've known for a long time, was able to step in, save one show at the Turf Club in St. Paul, Minnesota in February of 2025, and offered him the gig, and he took it. And then we wrote and recorded The Bridges That We Burn, and I really loved the way that record came together because we actually worked on the songs with the lyrics. The music was written along, with and to the lyrics, as opposed to like, well, let's just record a bunch of stuff and then see how we can fit the lyrics in.
I love this record though, man. I'll tell you that. In doing my homework, I came back to this record a couple of times. It's just a fantastic record. And I do love the name, and I do love the cover. It's great. Really, really, really great sounding record. Really
Yeah,
good.
thanks.
Yeah.
I absolutely think this is one of the best records I've ever been involved with. And, I've been on some pretty good records.
Yeah.
So, but I really do think this one is just came together so good. It sounds amazing. John Fields is really a master at what he does in the studio. So, it was a lot of fun to make this record. Interesting side note here, we tour coming up in May 22nd, starting at Alex's Bar.
Mm-hmm.
This will be the third time Ultrabomb has played at Alex's Bar.
Mm-hmm.
The first time was Finney, Jamie, and myself. The second time was Derek, Finney, and myself. And now it's just me and Derek and Ryan. And then I was thinking, like, wow, we better not play Alex's again, because that, shit, they might have a new bass player.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting, the history of this band. Like you mentioned, you sort of came in with these other two guys, and the way that you guys recorded, and then now you're making another run at it with two other very well-known guys who have quite a pedigree. Very cool that you sort of didn't fold your hand. You're back and you're running at it, and you just made a great record.
Yeah. I seriously considered possibly changing the name of the band after Finney left, but trying to come up with a new band name is not easy. And then also realizing I'd be back at square one and trying to get people to go like, oh, well, now who's this?
Yeah.
I've got a lot, financially and emotionally invested in Ultrabomb. So, I decided it's like, screw it. I'm keeping the name. It's just, me and Ryan and Derek, and we're going to keep pushing forward. And really, I think this record, Ryan is such a good songwriting partner. I really enjoyed making music with Finney and Jamie, but Ryan's approach is I think fits my approach a little bit better than the way Finney kind of approached writing or composing music. So again, it's like wanting to push the sound forward and keep it fresh. And Ultrabomb was never like a nostalgia act, or we were never trying to recreate something that people did 40 years ago. So
Jeff Bronx says "No Cap" is my favorite song. I think Zombie Zeros is my favorite song. I like that one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's deep in there, but I like that one. Does Ultrabomb do any Husker of this Husker stuff you wrote or anything, or is that sort of?
For the live shows, especially on the first couple of tours, we were playing some Husker tunes, some Mahone stuff, even a couple of UK subs songs.
Oh, wow.
But now that we've got the new record plus two the two prior albums, I'm not anticipating playing as much if we play it any Husker, maybe it'll be like for an encore. And what I had been doing was playing a couple of Grant songs. And the reason I wanted to play some of Grant's stuff is because Grant's not with us anymore. Nobody's out there representing. Obviously Bob still, when he plays with the Bob Bold band with John and Jason, they're doing Husker tunes, but those are Bob's songs. He's not going to play "Don't Want to Know If You're Lonely." So we'll still probably play an occasional Husker song, but
cool.
I think the emphasis is going to be I'm already writing new music and for our next record, so I'm hoping to get to a point where it's just all new material.
It's
keep
nice
moving forward.
I can attest to that. It's nice when you're in a band and you get to the point, you hit the precipice where you can make the jump and not have to play any songs from the band you played before that, any cover songs, anything. You could just go at it with the strength of your material. So I can relate to that with Incendiary Device. That's what's happening with us now. So it's kind of cool. I enjoy that. Hey, have you seen your Hardcore Legends trading card?
I have not.
There you go.
Oh wow.
Yeah. There you go. And
so
then
that photo is from the that Hook and Ladder show in July of 2022, right before I got my prostate out.
Oh. Let me ask you, what kind of bass? What are you playing? What kind of bass is that?
So that's a G&L Kiloton.
Right. That's what I thought it was a G&L. I couldn't.
Yep.
Yeah. And then
I have retired that bass, and now I'm playing a Reverend Greg Norton signature model.
Wow.
The Ultrabomb bass.
Which is a beautiful looking bass. I have a picture of that. Here is the back of your card with chock full of information.
Oh wow.
Greg got his first bass when he was about 13, but he didn't do a lot of focus playing until he met drummer Grant Hart. The roots of Husker Du are Greg and Grant, along with Charlie Pines on keyboard, playing cover songs. In the fall of '78, Bob Mould moved to St. Paul for college and met Greg and Grant at the Melody Lane record store. The three decided to continue Husker Du as a trio without Pines on keyboard and began writing original music based on their combined influences of the Ramones, the Dickies, Buzzcocks, Joy Division, and Wire.
There you go.
Wow, very cool.
I got a question about Shotgun Rationale.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't that you, Sonny Vincent, and Cheetah Chrome?
So Shotgun Rationale was Sonny Vincent's band. Cheetah played on some tours. Bob Stinson even went out and played with Sonny. Wow. I did one tour with him, and it was Sonny, myself, a guy named Paul Smith on guitar. He lives in Detroit. He's got a band called The Strains. And then this Gary Taylor on drums, and Gary was a Brit who had played drums in, I want to say, Tank, like a metal band called Tank.
Yeah, wasn't Tank was with what's from the Damned, right?
Algie Ward.
Algie Ward. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I only did one tour with Sonny, but. And it was fun though, because we were, it was punk rock, and this is like the early '90s, and everybody's like, punk is dead. I'm like, punk rock's never gonna die.
Yeah, right.
It's never gonna die, and really, it never has. It's evolved, and there are definitely so many different fucking subgenres of punk now. It's kind of mind-boggling, but yeah.
Yeah, I got to ask you about Reese Chatham as well.
Oh yeah,
he's very left of center, certainly.
So from he came through and did the I'm trying to think of what it was called, but it was 12 guitar players, a drummer, and me on bass, and it was like just playing E, just the note E, and that was pretty amazing. And I got asked to do that through Eric Frotsky, who is in one of my bandmates in Gang Font, and yeah, Reese. It was really interesting meeting him. He's definitely a character.
That it almost sounds like a pig face thing, Joel. Like we got 15 people and 5 of them are. Yeah.
We did 9 drummers at the House of Blues in Chicago with that.
Oh
band.
wow!
Yeah.
This one I forgot about. This one. There is a Greg Norton rookie card. Look at this.
Oh really?
Here we go with the Greg Norton rookie card.
Ha, wow.
There you go. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Hey, Josh, reach out to Greg. Get him his cards. That said, hey, let me take a very quick sponsor break, and we'll come back and we'll take some questions from around the world, and then we'll wrap it up, Greg, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, see you in a minute. See you in a minute, Joel. That's what's up. Often imitated, never duplicated. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. And we are sponsored by blah, 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 and the Texas Silver Rush. The Texas Silver Rush is a jewelry design firm and boutique store located in the birthplace of the Texas country music scene in Fredericksburg, Texas. They specialize in work with musicians in all music genres to design and create unique one-off pieces, as well as for style and for stage, album covers, promo photos, and social media exposure. Their client list includes Rock Roll Hall of Famers Greg Relay, Ringo Starr, and of course, Agnostic Front. Information and online sales are being taken at their Facebook and Instagram pages, and of course, www.thetexassilverrush.com. Hey, want to mention upcoming events? 1 week from Saturday is our first show in Tompkins Square Park. We're doing 3 of them this summer. This is the first one. Incendiary Device is playing, hot off the new record. Mephistopheles, Incendiary Device, The Phoenix Within, Star Car, Saturday, May 23rd. That is the first one. The second one is Sunday, August 23rd. It is a Women of the Pitch School Supply Drive show with My War, featuring a cavalcade of guest singers, Butterbrain, World of Chaos, and Sonic Bomb. And of course, in September is the last park show we are doing, Bad Luck 13, Silence Equals Death, Tree, Vugget, and RBNX. Also want to mention Sunday, May 31st, back at the Bowery Palace with Overthrow, Brass Knuckle Brigade, Destroy Myself, Canceled, Fracture, and Tied by Fate. And then we got Creep Fest here at the Bowery Palace, Sunday, June 7th. Bunch of the bands that are on Creep Records, including Rebelmatic, ID, Silence Equals Death, Chemical X, and Scarborough. And then, yes, we are going back up to Boston. We are playing with The Long Wait, featuring Jamie from SSD and some guys from Slapshot and so on and so forth. Wrecking Crew and a couple others. That's Sunday, June 14th at the Midway Cafe in Jamaica Plain. And then, of course, Punk Island is June 27th, and there are many, many bands playing Punk Island. On the streets again, the 17th, 18th, and 19th here in Brooklyn, and so on and so forth. So, which brings us to you, my friend. Questions you may have for our guest, Greg Norton. Please repost them. I know a lot of you asked questions early on. You sort of a little premature. So if you could repost whatever questions you have, let's do a couple minutes in questions. I'm counting on you. Let's bring on Joel, who's holding up pretty well with his voice.
Hope so.
and our guest, Greg Norton. You went outside.
I'm outside. Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. Is that right? Did G&L just go out of business? G&L?
Yeah, they just
Really?
closed up shop.
No shit.
So there's the Punk Rock Bears players bass punk rock bass players page on Facebook run by this guy Eric Boutal. And Eric lives not far from where GNL had their factory.
Right.
And he was like, holy crap, I can't believe it. I went by, the place is closed up, but the dumpsters are full of stuff.
No shit.
And so, you know, like saddles and bridges and
wow.
You know, he said, unfortunately, all the necks and bodies had been cut in half. But you know, he scored a shitload of GNL hardware.
Where was the GNL factory?
It was in I want to say Riverside, California, but that's not right. It was in that general area, though.
Right on.
Yeah.
LaRoche asks, what music does Greg listen to that would surprise us?
Olivia Rodrigo. I've got an 11-year-old and 10-year-old daughters, so I listen to a lot of Olivia Rodrigo and Charlie XCX and Chapel Roan when they're in the, you know, with me or in the car. I still listen to I've always listened to a really wide variety of music. I've never, like, you know, punk rock is still my number one love, but you know, a lot of weird jazz, a lot of you know, I'll just hear something and I like it and I'll follow it and you know, discover a lot of new stuff because of that.
Yeah, you know, that's one thing I miss about raising a kid is I was sort of forced to go see like a lot of films I would never have, you know, as would have seen, all those early Marvel movies I went to, and you know, we went and saw Miley Cyrus perform and Cordon Bleu and all that kind of stuff that I had no idea even existed at the time.
Yeah,
it was nice. It was I watched a lot of SpongeBob. It was really nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
SpongeBob is hilarious.
Yeah, SpongeBob is really out there. Billy Pilgrim asks, any memories of this show? This is the I guess this is a Rich show, 10-4-84 in New York. 10 Hail Marys, Husker Du, and Kraut at the old Ritz, which is now Webster Hall. Do you remember? You remember playing the old Ritz?
I do remember the show. I can't really remember a lot of details besides you know, playing the room. It was fun for sure.
Was New York a special place for Husker back in the day? Did you enjoy coming to New York to play?
Yeah, you know, New York has got such incredible energy, right? You know, and history and just being immersed in the city and with all the people. You know, I love New York. It's awesome. Yeah, you know, we played the, you know, Great Gildersleeves. We never played CB's, and I think the reason we didn't play CB's and ended up at Great Gildersleeves, I think CB's was booked on the night that we were trying to play there. And then you know, we played at Folk City. We played, you know, the Ritz. We did, you know, a bunch of shows at Irving Plaza, which was always a blast.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, interesting you bring up Gildersleeves. These free 16+ Sunday matinees that we've been doing are literally right next door to the old Gildersleeves.
Cool.
Yeah, it's like literally right next door. So and the facade of the old Gildersleeves is still there. It's still the same. Let's see what else. We'll do a couple more. Yeah, you know what? What inspired Greg to want to play bass of all instruments? We didn't get into that. Why bass?
You know, growing up listening to, the Beatles and Paul McCartney's bass lines, and then like I said, I got into the band Yes and Chris Squire's bass lines. I had tried playing guitar, but was always had a hard time figuring out how to play a guitar, and like the strings were too close together for my fat fingers, and I don't know, the bass is the bridge between rhythm and melody. It's what holds everything together. The bass is the timekeeper too, so that really kind of appealed to me. And once I started playing with Bob and Grant, it's really I kind of learned how to play bass playing with Bob, and writing bass lines to kind of play off of what Bob was doing, and also playing more in like the a middle register to kind of emulate filling out the sound, so we sounded like more than just a three piece.
Makes sense. Absolutely. Oh, good one. Is Ultrabomb going to tour the East Coast? You've played here before, but anything in the future?
Yes, we are actually. Hopefully, we'll have more tour announcements for October coming up, but we should be on the East Coast this October.
Oh, fantastic. Damian Weber asks, does Greg have any memories of the Live in London Husker Du gig that was filmed and released on video? It was an amazing watch.
And that's actually like a really crazy story, because we were doing an East Coast tour, and all of a sudden we get a phone call. It's like, hey, this TV program Live from London wants to film you guys, but we need to fly you over. So we played a show in DC. We had to cancel one show. We flew from the States to London, got into London about 11 o'clock at night, had to be on set at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Oh boy.
Actually, I think we had to be there at 9, and then they filmed at 10 a.m. and it was at Camden Palace, which is now it's still there. It's called Coco now, and they hired about 20 or 30 people to be the audience, and because we had to fly in for it, and we didn't have any like work papers or anything like that. We couldn't bring any instruments, so everything, Bob's playing an Explorer. I'm playing a P bass. The strap broke on the first song. I remember Grant was also kind of fighting a cold, and they kept pumping all this like oil smoke out on the stage, which is really hard to breathe.
That stuff was nasty.
Yep. And we got that done, and we were back on a plane later that day and flew to Cleveland, Ohio, and Lou Giordano, our sound guy, picked us up at the airport, and we played a place called Peabody's Underground that night in Cleveland. So that was a crazy trip. Yeah, I definitely have some memories of that.
The Lou Giordano connection goes to Boston. He was involved in those SSD Control records. I was around.
Yep.
I was at Media Sound. I was around for all that.
Yep.
Kids will have their say and all that. So
yeah, and then Lou produced a lot of records while at Fort Apache.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lou was he was just somebody that we met, and he really liked the band, really liked us. We liked him, and offered him the gig as our sound guy, and pretty much he was like the first you know, before it would just be the three of us in the van. Now it was four of us, and Lou was great.
Yeah, I remember back then. Even he had a good temperament.
Yes.
He was good like that. As we head down the home stretch here, what was it like doing the Joan Rivers show? I watched that this morning. That was a little awkward.
Yeah, that was a trip too. And again, then flew out to L.A. to record the Joan Rivers show. Sitting in, we did a sound check with the stage setup that they had. We were all kind of isolated in these plexiglass booths, and just sitting backstage in the green room, and Ian McClellan was the guest who actually introduced us when it came time to play. He's like, and now Husker du, so Gandalf before he was Gandalf.
Wow.
And and met Joan Rivers had her little dog running around backstage. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's interesting. Joel, as we sort of head down the home stretch, any color commentary you want to throw in the mix?
Sure. Am I still coming through okay?
Yeah.
Cool. First of all, Craig, thank you for tolerating my voice. I didn't want to miss this today, so I appreciate you doing with that.
Once again, I cannot hear Joel.
I can't hear you. All right.
Drew,
hey, I'll
this is important.
Okay.
I'm going to sign back in.
No, it's not you. I don't think it's you. I mean, you could try. It's why don't you give it a shot, Joel?
Okay.
All right. Let him try. This is sort of interesting. This is an interesting one. How does it feel knowing grunge music was very much inspired by you guys in Husker Du? I don't know if that's. I guess there's something to that.
Yeah, hard to say if we were, really inspired grunge, but definitely it's what we were doing. Those guys were listening to,
Yeah.
And again, it's taking something and pushing it forward and turning it into something of your own.
Yeah.
Basically, I would say the only real similarities that we had with grunge is that we were from Minnesota. We like to wear flannel shirts.
Yeah. There you go.
Yep.
I have one. I have a personal one. Any unsung heroes from those early days? I know, like, we talk about Black Flag, and I know, like, Dukowski comes up in the mix a lot. And, I just had Joe Keithley on the show, Joey Shithead, certain Mugger. Any unsung heroes from those very early halcyon days that you remember?
Yeah, one of the an early influence on us was Mission of Burma.
Oh, wow.
Out of Boston.
Sure.
And they kind of went on their first hiatus shortly after we started playing. We did get to play a couple of shows with those guys. Clint Conley has always been one of my bass heroes.
Wow.
Yeah, bands like Squirrel Bait out of Lexington, Kentucky, or not Lexington, Newport, Kentucky, right across the river from Cincinnati. Squirrel Bait were really good, and actually a couple of those guys went on to start the band Slint. So many great bands just around the Midwest. Die Kreutzen from Milwaukee, Articles of Faith from Chicago. Definitely a ton of bands here in Minneapolis, like Otto's Chemical Lounge and the Blue Hippos, and
Yeah.
definitely, there are a lot of unsung heroes out there. So fortunately, with the internet, their music is still available, and people can go out and check it out.
Yeah, that's one of the good things about the internet is that it made a lot of bands accessible that were sort of it's one of the good things, and being able to do a show like this and stuff like that. Joel, you want to speak up, see if he can hear you?
Test. Hello.
Nope.
No.
I'll translate. Tell me what you want me to ask.
I'll say it to you in steps so you can share it.
Okay, go ahead.
It's a statement. There are records that people listen to get happy.
There are records that people listen to get happy.
There are records that people listen to go crazy with.
There are records that people listen to go crazy with.
There are records that people listen to stay alive. Husker Du taught me the difference.
There are records that people listen to stay alive. Husker Du taught me the difference.
Thank you. That's amazing. I appreciate that.
Right on, Joel. Well, thank you, Greg. I just want to say for everybody out there, Ultrabomb is heading out. The Look Forward in Anger 2026 tour. They're doing some West Coast stuff, and then you guys are going to Europe, and then you're talking about coming to the East Coast, correct?
Not Europe yet, but we'll some Midwestern dates, some Eastern Canadian dates. We're also playing with at Frank Turner's Lost Evenings in Dallas, Texas at the end of September. And then right after that, if things go like I suspect they will, we'll be leaving to head east and do a full East Coast run.
Fantastic.
So, New York, Boston, Philly, DC, all the usual suspects.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for coming on. Is there anybody you want to thank? Is there anybody you want to shout out?
Well, yeah, I mean, thanks to Finney for making the phone call and getting the whole Ultrabomb thing rolling, even though he's no longer part of the group. I definitely feel thankful for that. Big thanks to Ryan and Derek for joining me on this on the journey now, and I'm really excited about where it's going to go. Jamie Oliver, big love to him as well. He's drumming with the Toy Dolls right now, which is really incredible. I always love the Toy Dolls. Thanks to Darren, the label guy, and John Fields, the producer, and all my friends and family and fans and everybody. Thanks, everybody.
Right. I'll see you when you come to New York, Greg.
Yeah. Thanks, Drew.
Thanks so much, man. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Yeah. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Boom.
Wow.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah. Nice.
Not that you'd want to right now, but
no, it was a nice show. Nice fella.
Yeah.
And,
really great.
Incredible. What an incredible career.
Yeah.
Like I've said this often many times, one of the pure joys of doing this show is really delving deep into catalogs of musicians that chances are, left to my own means, you can only get into so much, right? As a human being and as a music fan. And yeah, right. I learned. Yeah, right on. I learned so much. Yeah, me too. Yo, I could say this that like I wasn't that proficient in Husker Du's career, and doing this show, doing my homework, and with some of your guidance, and Will Romeo from ID, who's a big Husker Du Bob Mould fan. Wow. I mean, I never really. I didn't really understand the dynamics in that band until I really grinded this week and did my homework.
Yeah,
really cool and sad story about Grant. Very sad. I mean, he was a very talented guy. It kind of like burned himself out, ran himself into the ground.
Yeah, but left a tremendous body of work.
Yeah. 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 He sang some great songs with that band.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if I don't think there's anyone watching who's new to Husker Du. I would absolutely, of course, recommend Zen Arcade.
Yeah.
I would say Candy Apple Gray probably has my favorite Grant Hart music on it.
Right.
So those two records are absolutely ground zero.
You mentioned this record, which was put out, I think, by the major label after they Didn't you mention you told me like this was kind of great?
Yeah, that was from the final Husker Du tour. That was put out, I think, in the mid '90s. It's a great sounding record. It's a lot of material off of the Warehouse album, but there's also material that would have been the next Husker Du album material had they stayed together.
And you did mention something which I think it's more appropriate to sort of we could bring it up now after Greg's off the show, is that in a certain regard Husker Du on that major label, they were really poised for some major label success, and in a lot of regards, like REM took their spot. Is that fair to say?
I think so. I think so. It was really around that time. I think had Husker done another album, they would have been set on a different trajectory. They would have been where REM was with the Document album, the one I love, that era.
This one goes out to,
and I love that era, but that was right when college radio was about to fucking break.
Sure.
And, Husker was right there. But I do like Greg's point about, they didn't do a reunion. They kind of kept the legacy intact. We've seen bands come back together, and we kind of wish they wouldn't,
It reminded me of Minor Threat. Like when Ian was on, he said, we never did that record.
Right.
We never made that record. And really neither did Husker Du. They had their original run, and then they split, and they never got back together and sort of made that record.
Right.
And their legacy is, in retrospect was pretty sharp and pretty pure.
I'll share a story I shared with you the other night, Drew. I'll share the Jerry Only anecdote.
Sure, please go ahead.
This goes back about 30 years. I was hanging out with Jerry Only. And I love Jerry, great guy, and he's a real sweetheart. But he's also a Jersey jock, and I say that respectfully. So with the Misfits, they always have a little bit of competitive edge with other bands, which I think is healthy. So I was grilling him on 80s bands. I'm like, so what about this one? He's like, this one, And I get down the list. I say, how about Husker Du? Jerry stopped and just went, what a band.
Wow.
He's like, what a band. He had nothing bad to say about Husker Du.
That's kind of surprising, huh?
Yeah. I mean, the respect these guys had as musicians, they were bulletproof in that scene.
Well, I wouldn't doubt that in those very early days, sort of Jerry and Glenn and they might have crossed paths, or Husker was putting stuff out very early in the game. Very early. They were putting those singles out in 80 and 81. That's when the Misfits, like I said on the show, anything that even smelled like hardcore, we would run out and buy in 81 and 82. Anything.
Yeah, it wasn't like we had Spotify playlists with 10,000 artists.
Yeah.
If you heard somebody was doing something in the city, you check it out.
Sure. Kill for Peace 69. Meg Griffin, New York AOR DJ, was really pushing Husker Du. Is that right? I remember Meg Griffin, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and you know what I didn't bring up on the show that I think in that early era, there was, and I think, was it like sort of like when Glenn Friedman put out the My Rules photo fanzine, and it was almost like each city had their like top band. Like Boston had SSD Control. Virginia had Corrosion. The Necros. And from my perspective, and from a lot of our perspectives here, sort of Minneapolis meant Husker Du. That's
Right.
what Minneapolis hardcore, that's what it meant. It was Husker, Minneapolis equals Husker Du early on. And I think there was a lot of that, especially if you were really into it back then. You'd sort of, like who's representing San Francisco? Oh, Dead Kennedys. Who's representing Ohio? The Necros, and that kind of stuff. Has Mugger been on the show? No, Mugger. I don't know if we get Mugger on the show. I think Mugger's like trading stocks now or something.
Yeah, he's very successful.
Yeah, he's done very well. I don't think he might be one of those guys that doesn't want to come on here and talk about, being half naked on stage and Replacements, right? Yeah, Replacements were an interesting band early on.
Oh yeah, love the Replacements.
Yeah, we got to get one of the Replacements on this show.
That would be awesome. And I'll co-host with a better voice if that happens.
I can reach out to Tommy. I've crossed paths with him a couple times.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Get him on there. My Rules was the Bible. Yeah, it was cool, and it was like a reference. It was like a reference, like a map, like a reference map. What are you? When are you next on with me?
The Bob Show.
Oh, we got some time.
Yeah,
we got 2 months. We're good. We got fucking heal up, man.
Jesus.
But I want you to come on the Kira show.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
Yeah,
I was just talking to Paul the other day. Paul's helping me out with something, so
yeah,
I love them.
Well, yeah, Paul's a beloved figure. Yep. And don't worry, we got Waddy coming on soon, kids.
Hey, I should co-host Waddy so nobody fucking hears anything.
Drew, any plans on an ID tour documentary video of tour? No, but I'll tell you, the ID record is sort of getting some love, and thank you, everybody. And we were just sort of taken aback by what's going on the streaming platforms. Like somebody called us from the labels, like, "Yo, what's going on?" I'm like, "I don't know. People listen to it. We worked hard, we hustled. I wish we were out playing more shows, but it is what it is. We're trying to set stuff up. If anybody out there books shows or has any ideas about Incendiary Device, or reach out to me. ID, we need to get out more outside the tri-state area. So there's that part of it, but there's another video in the works for the song Aggression. If you're listening to the ID record, looks like there'll be another video for Aggression. So we'll see what happens, but it's really exciting. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I've never been a part of such a coordinated effort. I've been involved in records before with Antidote and this and that, and even the first ID record, but it's exciting. I've never been a part of such a coordinated effort that people are so excited about, and that's getting so much love. So I really appreciate that, everybody out there that's bought the record. If anybody's interested, here's the widget for the here's the QR code in the States for the ID record. Give it a scan. Buy the ID record. It's really arguably the best thing that we've ever done, that I've ever done. That's the American QR code from Creep Records. And if you are in Europe, there is the European QR code. So check that out. With all the bands you put on here and all the people, they should be checking for ID without question. Well, welcome to the music business, my friend, where you bend over backwards and hook people up, and then they act like they don't give a flying fuck about you. That is the music business. Not going to mention any names. But we try to have a sense of humor about these matters, right?
Right.
So, have any of the L7 women? Yeah, we just had Jen was just on. Jennifer Finch was just on, like, I don't know, a couple months ago. I talked to Kira yesterday, and she's confirmed for the first series of printed Hardcore Legends cards. Well, there you go.
Great.
Oh, Astoria Lou in the house. Enjoyed the show today. What's today? Sunday. Home in Astoria with Astoria Lou. Where was the new album recorded? Hey, watch the ID show that we did and we explain it. The new album was the new ID album was recorded in Brooklyn at a place called Found Foundations. That's where the basic tracks were done with producer with Zum, and then they were mixed by Dan Kornoff, who was on the last show talking about it. And really, Dan Kornoff is what brought the record to the next level. So, all right, Joe. Well, thanks a lot, man. Good day's work, brother.
Right on. Thank you again for having me.
And I know, I think Michael Lago is feeling a bit better, so I got to hook him up with you for the book.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, he's doing better. He's doing better. He was talking to my mom, wishing her a happy Mother's Day this morning. So
I'm happy to hear he's getting better.
Yeah, 100%. I'll talk to you soon, man. Thank you.
Take care. Bye, everyone.
All right. There you go. Donate, you cheapos. Thank you, LaRoche. Thank you. Great show. Thanks for everybody being a part of it. Next up is the Punk Island show, and then the big Waddy show. So, and then in the meantime, of course, wait, this is next. When's this? Oops. This is May 17th. Then this is, then is the show in the park, May 23rd. And then the day after, I'm going to be screaming my brains out in Tompkins Square Park. Waddy's on the show. So there you go. Thanks a lot, everybody. Go Knicks. For all you sports basketball fans out there. Go Knicks. And good one. Yeah. Thank you, Kill for Peace 69. Thanks for tuning in. Michael, we have a show Friday at Bridge 9. Come on through. It's on me. So says Larry Kelly. Very good, everybody. Talk to you soon. Until next time, do good things, and good things will come to you.